Einstein once said that one of the most important decisions that we'd ever make as human beings is to simply decide whether or not we live in a friendly universe. And so I would like to change the word universe to the word God, because I believe they're one and the same. God, the universe. As a matter of fact, I think life could also fit in. God, life, and universe. They're all the same thing. So the question is, do we live in a friendly universe? Do we have a friendly God? Is life friendly? It is my belief that most people do not believe we live in a friendly universe. I believe that most people believe that we do not have a friendly God. And I think there's 4 reasons for that. 4 reasons for why most people in the world don't believe that we have a friendly God. Reason number 1 is our families. Now think about it. When you were first born and you entered the world for the first time, what was the first thing you experienced? Pain. You got spanked on the butt, said, wake up. Now, as a small being, maybe psychically we were saying to ourselves, what in the world did I come into? Because again, our initial experience of life was what? It was painful. And then, of course, we have our parents within our families who bless their hearts. Our parents love us, and they do the best they can with the tools they have, right? But don't they sometimes do unfriendly things to us? You know, sometimes our parents aren't the friendliest persons in the world, right? They have good intentions, but as children, our interpretation becomes, this isn't a friendly place. And so next, we have our cultures. Depending on what culture you're brought up into, it's easy to understand how some people may have the idea that we live in an unfriendly universe. For example, if you were born into a culture where if you were caught stealing, they're cut off your hand, what would your perception of the universe be? Kind of unfriendly, right? I mean, you do something bad, you get your hand chopped off. Or in some cultures where if you're caught committing adultery, you get stoned to death. So can you imagine the ideas that we create based on our cultures? And what about our society? Now, if I turn on CNN right now, what am I going to see? Violence, terror, war in Iraq, Ben and J-Lo. But my point is, we're constantly inundated with all these negative images, so it's no wonder most of us have come to the belief system that the God and the universe and life are unfriendly. So think about your own life experience. And just take a moment and ask yourself that simple question. Do you believe that we live in a friendly universe? Do you believe that we have a friendly God? You see, because I've come to the conclusion there are 2 types of people in the world. There are those that believe we live in a friendly universe and those that don't. And so let's say we've got category A, which is the friendly God, and I belong on this side. And then on the other side, we have the people that say, nope, I have all the evidence to support my belief that the universe is a mean place. It's a violent place. You get to choose which side that you're on. So where do you stand? Now, I left off probably the most significant perpetuator of this idea that we live in an unfriendly universe, and that is our religions. Because think about it. Most of our religions, especially if we're brought up in the Western culture, most of our religions teach us what? God is an angry God. God is a vengeful God. God is a judgmental God, a condemning God. Any of you have that experience? Any of you taught that? Okay. So our religions teach us that, or shall I say, our religions create the belief system that the universe is an unfriendly place, therefore God is unfriendly, and so is life.
Taylor. You are listening to KPFT 90.1 FM radio coming to you live from Houston, Texas. This is a new conversation with men, and I'm your host, Michael Taylor. And I'd like to welcome you to the show. And for those of you who may be tuning in for the first time, a new conversation with men is an opportunity to create dialogue and conversation amongst men to empower them and to hopefully help them improve the quality of their life. It is a positive show designed to negate some of the negativity that we see about men throughout our media. And so this conversation is open to men of all ages, all religions, all races. It's also open to women. We definitely love to have women giving their input and insights into this conversation. The show is designed to help us understand that differences don't have to mean divisions. In other words, we can be different, but we don't have to be divided. Unfortunately, in our society, we allow our differences sometimes to divide us, and then we take positions saying that, because I'm this race or this religion, I have to be different and separate from you. But this show is a little different. It's just an opportunity to have a conversation, to have dialogue, and to create unity, not divisiveness. And so that is the hope. That is my hope for the show, and that's why I do the show, because I believe there's enough negative stuff out there in the world today. And so, as the saying goes, be a light in the darkness, and that's what I'm trying to do, be a light in the darkness. And so, our last show, which was about 3 weeks ago, was a really good show. And it really acknowledged to me that I'm actually fulfilling my vision for the show in having conversations that allow everyone to voice their opinion without attacking, without condemning, being non-judgmental, and just being open to dialogue. And we had a wonderful show, and the topic of the show was, is it possible for a man to create monogamous relationships? That was the topic of the show. And that topic obviously can be a very heated discussion, but yet everyone that called in provided some insights and information, I thought, which was very beneficial. In case you did not tune into the show, we had a gentleman call in, and he said that he thought the reason that some men weren't able to be monogamous was because there were so many women versus men that, for whatever reason, that caused some men to stray, which was an interesting concept. And then there was another gentleman who called in from Africa, who I believe he thought I was attacking his culture when I was promoting monogamy, because in Africa, apparently polygamy is accepted and it's not illegal there. And as we engaged in a dialogue and conversation, he had an interesting point of view, which, coming from his country and a different culture, I can understand that. And it was just a wonderful dialogue between two men just trying to look at other people's point of view. And that is why we have this show. And then I had a female call in on the last show, and I have to admit that I was really moved by her honesty and her courage into talking about how she and her husband had created this open relationship in which, when they got married, they decided that it was okay for them to seek other sexual partners if they chose to, as long as they were open and honest with each other. And that, again, is out of my belief system, but I really appreciated her honesty and openness in sharing that information. And so that's what a new conversation is about. It's about us having a dialogue with each other, looking at different points of view, and remembering that we can be different but still not be divided.